Hello from the Channel studio in London and welcome to another edition of Foreign Dispatches, the programme that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Tenyola Oyetayo. On the programme this week, violent clashes in Sudan erupt out of escalating tensions and a long-running tussle for power. Plus, Russian President Putin and Ukrainian leader Zelensky visit troops in frontline towns as Russia's invasion continues. Fighting recently erupted in Sudan's capital Khartoum and its other sites across the country as powerful rival military factions battle for control. The clashes between the army and paramilitary forces is the first since they formed an alliance in 2019 after a coup. The violence has left several people dead, derailed a shift to civilian rule, and could destabilize the volatile region. Thousands of Khartoum residents have been affected by the outbreak of violence between the Sudan Armed Forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces in the capital. University student Mustafa says he plans to stay inside at all times at his home in the city's downtown area as long as fierce armed clashes continue.
I live in with my family. All of them are here at home, and we never go out until we know the news of this war. Actually, the only harassment that which I had that by staying at homes with a great anxious and worries that you can go out for all. I don't think
he's not alone. Many more are also staying off the streets.
We're fine. We're safe. The power has been out. That was something. You know, it's like, I don't even know what it is anymore. Is it a rocket-propelled grenade? Is that a military strike? I don't even know. But we're good. We keep in touch with family via text, via very short phone calls just to check in on each other. I had like a panic moment a few minutes ago because I couldn't find my diabetes meds. I usually keep a stash at work because I'm at work when it's time to take them. I have 3 boys, teenagers, and my husband also ventured out yesterday to get some medicine for himself during what was supposed to be the ceasefire, but apparently that ceasefire wasn't really effective because there was still gunfire and there were still clashes during that time, the declared ceasefire.
If the fighting continues, many residents may find themselves short of supplies. Water and electricity supplies were cut off in some areas on Monday, trapping residents in scarcity of daily necessities.
Sudan has endured so much pain and suffering. The fighting is born out of power games and personal interests that only serve to alienate the democratic aspirations of the population. Thousands upon thousands of civilians are trapped in their homes, shielding from the fighting, with no electricity and unable to venture out, worried about running out of food, drinking water and medicine.
Humanitarian aid agencies have highlighted the need for access to essential services, commodities and humanitarian assistance in the country, adding that hospitals and infrastructure for water and electricity supply must be protected.
The truth is that at the moment, it is almost impossible to provide any humanitarian services in and around Khartoum. There are calls from various organizations and people trapped asking for evacuation. For the past 4 days, people have been out of water, food. Electricity has been rationed, in some places totally disconnected. You know, there are people in hospitals, they are functioning, but at the same time, it's minimum functioning because one, electricity is affected, the staff themselves are overwhelmed, they have just come out of a COVID period demonstration, and now with this current situation where the health workers and safety is not assured. So there is a disruption of the health system. And if it continues, it will almost go into a collapse.
The crisis in Sudan stems from a disagreement over the integration of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces into Sudan's army as part of a transition towards civilian rule. The armed conflict between both sides has pitted Sudan's president, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, against his vice president, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, in a struggle for control of Africa's third largest country. The RSF joined with the military to overthrow long-ruling autocratic leader Umar Hassan al-Bashir in a coup in 2019. The two forces then carried out another coup in October 2021. Since fighting began on Saturday morning, over 200 people have been confirmed killed and 1,800 others wounded as of Tuesday. The two sides have been using tanks, artillery, fighter jets, and other heavy weapons in their exchange of fire. The World Health Organization said fighters have also attacked aid workers, hospitals, and diplomats, including an EU ambassador assaulted in his home. The WHO also warned of the near collapse of the country's health system.
Healthcare facilities and workers must never be a target, especially in a situation like this where there are thousands of civilians who need access to emergency care. There are disturbing reports of some health facilities being looted and others being used for military purposes. It's also reported that some hospitals are already closed or on the brink of closure due to attacks and the lack of medical personnel and medical supplies. WHO calls on all parties to comply with their obligations under international law. The situation in the Republic of Sudan is deeply concerning. Sudan's Ministry of Health Emergency Operations Center reports 270 people have been killed and more than 2,600 people have been injured. Tragically, 3 workers from WFP have also been killed. I condemn all loss of life, and we stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Sudan. Movement has been restricted due to insecurity, creating challenges for health workers and ambulances to reach health facilities and putting further lives at risk. The supplies that WHO distributed to health facilities prior to this recent escalation of conflict are now exhausted.
The country is located in a strategic location bordering the Red Sea, the Sahel, and the Horn of Africa, and the conflict could destabilize an already volatile region. The international community has called for calm and de-escalation of the conflict.
I strongly condemn the outbreak of fighting that is taking place in Sudan and appeal to the leaders of the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces to immediately cease hostilities, restore calm, and begin a dialogue to resolve the crisis. The situation has already led to horrendous loss of life, including many civilians. Any further escalation could be devastating for the country and the region. I urge all those with influence over the situation to use it in the cause of peace to support efforts to end the violence, restore order, and return to the path of transition. The humanitarian situation in Sudan was already precarious and is now catastrophic. I condemn the deaths and injuries to civilians and humanitarian workers and the targeting and looting of premises.
The A3, namely Gabon, Mozambique, and Ghana, wish to take this opportunity to express our deep concern over these developments and to strongly condemn the ongoing armed confrontation between the two sides throughout Sudan. We regret the loss of lives among civilians, including international humanitarian workers, and the destruction of property, and wish the injured a speedy recovery. To this end, we wish to reiterate the African Union's call for an immediate ceasefire by the two parties without conditions.
We, of course, deeply condemn the violence that erupted over the weekend. And the most regrettable thing, I think, is the more than 100 innocent civilians who have lost their lives. We were just so disappointed that after months of negotiations and gradual, fragile progress towards a transition, that violence has erupted not just in Khartoum, in Darfur and across Sudan. This has been very, very disappointing and obviously frightening and appalling for people who've lost their lives and been injured in all of this.
The message of the EU is extremely clear, which is cessation of hostilities, de-escalation of the current situation, urging for the respect of the international humanitarian law and the protection of civilians. Daily humanitarian pause necessary for the welfare of the Sudanese and the foreign citizens, and we're putting the political process back on track. That's extremely important. All efforts are welcome to seek ways to support dialogue and mediation, return to civilian-led transition. And of course, we call on external actors to refrain from interfering.
On Tuesday, Sudan's rival commanders agreed to a 24-hour ceasefire following pressure from the United States.
I made calls to Generals Burhan and Hamedi, urging them to agree to a 24-hour ceasefire to allow Sudanese to safely reunite with their families and to obtain desperately needed relief supplies. If implemented successfully, a ceasefire for 24 hours can create a foundation to build upon for a more sustained halt to fighting and a return to negotiations on a durable end to the hostilities.
A protracted power struggle raises the risk of Sudan falling into civil war 4 years after long-ruling autocrat Omar al-Bashir was stopped in an uprising, as well as derailing internationally backed efforts to launch a civilian transition that was due to be signed earlier this month. With the fighting, the future of Sudan's democracy is once again uncertain. Over to the Russian invasion, leaders of both Ukraine and Russia traveled to the war's front lines on Tuesday as Russian forces stepped up heavy artillery bombardments and airstrikes on the devastated Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. The ongoing battle for the city is one of the bloodiest of the war.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited wounded soldiers at a hospital in Donetsk and addressed troops in the small eastern city of Avivka. The city has been one of the main targets of a recent Russian offensive intended to reinvigorate Moscow's full-scale invasion. President Zelensky, who has repeatedly visited troops near the front line in recent weeks, addressed troops in combat gear and handed them awards. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin also met his commanders in 2 regions of Ukraine that Moscow claims to have annexed. President Putin asked his commanders for updates on the regions during the visit. Kherson, Zaporizhia, Luhansk and Donetsk are the 4 regions that the Russian leader proclaimed annexed last September, following what Ukraine said were sham referendums. Russian forces only partly control the areas. Fighting has raged in and around Bakhmut in Donetsk region for months, with Ukrainian forces holding out despite regular claims by Russia to have taken the city. Footage released on Tuesday by Ukraine's border guard service showed smoke pouring from the ruined city as soldiers engaged in firefights in the streets. To the south, regional officials in Kherson said a Russian artillery attack on a market killed 1 person and injured 9 more. Ukrainian troops recaptured Kherson last November after nearly 8 months of occupation by Russian forces. The area is now under frequent fire from Russian troops entrenched across the Dnipro River. In the meantime, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will discuss the Ukraine Black Sea grain export deal with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres in New York next week. It comes just weeks before the pact could expire, unless Russian demands regarding its own exports are met.
We continue to be determined to have this deal implemented fully, as we are continuing with determination to work on the other part of the package, which is the facilitation of Russian grain and fertilizer. The stakes for this are very high, right? There are a lot of people around the world who depend on the food and the grain that's exported, who depend on fertilizer. And even if they don't depend on exactly those grains and fertilizer, they depend on the global price of food and fertilizer not to rise. I think it's important that everyone live up to their responsibility.
The grain export deal was brokered by the United Nations and Turkey in July last year to help tackle a global food crisis that UN officials said had been worsened by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the most deadly war in Europe since World War II.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, we'll take a look at how residents in the United Arab Emirates mark the holy month of Ramadan as it comes to an end. Please stay with us. Israel on Tuesday commemorated the Jewish resistance and the millions of Jewish men, women and children who were murdered by the Nazis during the Holocaust. The Holocaust Remembrance Day has been observed in Israel since 1951. This year, though, the remembrance took place on the backdrop of mass demonstrations over judicial changes in the country.
In her wheelchair, 79-year-old Holocaust survivor Esther Paran follows a crowd of Israelis marching through Tel Aviv. The group is one of many in recent weeks protesting government plans to overhaul the country's judicial system. Esther, too, is here to make her voice heard. She understands the vulnerability of democracy more than most.
I am very limited motion, but I can come with the chair to here, at least, and feel what other people feel in doing, and be with the citizens of Tel Aviv and all the country. When I see television, I get so angry that I can't sleep for nights. Here, at least, I feel that I do something. Maybe it will, and I believe it will help.
Paran was born in Hungary towards the end of World War II, when her family was in hiding from the Nazis. They came to Israel in 1957 to escape a deadly uprising in Hungary that failed to end Soviet rule. She is one of roughly 147,000 Holocaust survivors still alive in Israel.
It was a very difficult story for my mother to give birth and keep me alive as a baby. She has a hiding place, but she had to find food, and there was no food at that time at all. She was breastfeeding me, but a person has to eat to have milk. So it was an everyday problem to get food.
Paran never drew a comparison between events from her past and the current rift in Israel, but the highly contested judicial overhaul plan that has caused months of turmoil in Israel is what disturbs her today.
I am more concerned even than my colleague in Israel, because I experienced these kind of changes in my own family. So it can happen the same way it happened in Hungary and in Poland recently, because they had all three countries before and become now very much like a dictator.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's attempt to make changes to the court system has caused a wave of protests and a fracture in Israeli society. Though the nation remains deeply divided, the government urged for unity on Tuesday as the country marked Holocaust Memorial Day. Israelis stood still across the country for 2 minutes as a siren wailed to honor the millions of Jews murdered by the Nazis during the Second World War.
And over in Poland, also marking the Holocaust Remembrance Day, thousands of people from around the world annually take part in the March of the Living, an event held at the site of former death camps, which the Nazis built following the invasion of the country in 1939.
Since 1988, surviving concentration camp prisoners, their children and grandchildren and other participants from all over the world have gathered in Auschwitz on Israel's National Holocaust Memorial Day for the March of the Living. This year, over 40 Holocaust survivors participated in the march.
I survived, not because I'm special, not because I'm a genius. I survived because I had a brother called Jakob.
I know it is inevitable, and a time will come where there will be no survivors, and that's why all the more I'm making the effort to be here while I can.
This year's event also commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, when armed Jews among hundreds of thousands crowded into a small area of the Polish capital, struck back against the Nazi occupiers.
This year, on Holocaust Remembrance Day, we salute Jewish heroism in the Holocaust and the miracle of the human spirit, as we commemorate 80 years since the courageous Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Today, we were privileged to be joined by 42 Holocaust survivors from around the world who marched with us.
German forces established Auschwitz after they invaded and occupied Poland and killed more than 1.1 million people there, most of them Jews, but also Poles, Roma, Soviet prisoners of war, and others. In all, about 6 million European Jews died during the Holocaust.
And finally, on the program, Ramadan is a special time for Muslims around the world and is observed as a time of fasting, spiritual reflection, devotion, and increased charity. As Ramadan ends, in this next report, our Dubai correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, shows us how Muslims in the United Arab Emirates mark the holy month of Ramadan with various traditions.
Local authorities in the UAE have announced regular working hours will resume on Monday, April 24, following the Eid al-Fitr holidays. Reduced working hours began at the start of the Ramadan fast as part of the rules observed by all. During the holy month, work is reduced by 2 hours, and while non-Muslims are not expected to observe the fast, eating, drinking, and chewing gum in public are not allowed. That sound signals the end of the fast each day, so iftar can begin. There's an air of celebration during iftar. Various groups and companies also host this special gathering to promote the spirit of unity, and everyone, regardless of their religion, is invited.
The most important thing I think we can learn as Nigerians is that our diversity is not a source of weakness. It's not a source of division. It's a strength. You have over 200 nationalities in UAE coexisting. It's Ramadan, it's for the Muslims, or Christians have to go. That's really not how it is. And you can attest to that as well. Everybody is welcome and you feel that spirit all over.
When people breaking their fast, there is some traditional dishes which one supposed to be there actually. Everyone eating fruits, everyone eating dates, everyone eating, but there is some special dishes which one we are in Conrad Dubai. We are serving here lamb uzi, which one is slow cooked lamb, which is very traditional, and the rice of the uzi we cook with the same juices come out from the lamb. So it's a very traditional dish, people, and this me is cooking a whole lamb actually. So it's very authentic for us also, and for people to see. Is like it's not a small piece of meat; it's a big whole lamb actually. And then we have a mandi chicken with mandi rice, and we have some biryani, which one biryani is very famous in Arabic countries and in Asian countries also. And then we have so many Arabic sweets, baklava, kunafa, and some dessert dates, which one is really like, it's really good to see actually. Yeah.
Gathering for this feast is a community of businessmen and women from different councils. They have varied experiences, all pointing to the beauty of the season.
The first time I had something like a bomb went off. I got scared, honestly. I was really scared because I felt maybe somewhere had been bombed in Dubai and I don't know where to run to. So people were actually laughing around me because the way I screamed and held my, and this is just iftar, it's just iftar. And I look at the beautiful restaurant, the way they were arranged, more like there was a wedding.
A lot of people will say during Ramadan, nothing happens. For me, it's quite the opposite. Ramadan's taught me to be flexible, it's taught me to be versatile, and it's taught me a lot of patience. I think during Ramadan, you learn to sort of do things at a pace that should be more natural to the human conscience. So yeah, I love Ramadan. Honestly, I make it a point to be here every year. No matter where in the world I have to be, I'm in my Dubai office for Ramadan.
Organized by the UAE Africa Networking Group, these kinds of gatherings serve as avenues for connecting and celebrating religious tolerance in the UAE.
And that's the programme today, but remember, our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tenyola Oyetayo. Bye for now.